Two comments today. I'll get to the short one really quick. The sun's rays don't go in parallel. They're almost always spread out in all directions, says the flat smurfer. This is an example of someone literally repeating something that's the opposite of reality. The majority of the time, if you have clear skies, the sun's rays come in completely parallel. Over a very large area, over very large distances, they come in parallel. With reference to gravity, they don't, because the Earth is curved. But within a, let's say, 20-mile distance, the sun's rays come in parallel. You'll see a slight beep on the Earth's surface, and you will detect a slight beep. But unless you're deciding that the Earth is literally inside out, or flat, or shaped like a pickle, the sun's rays come in parallel. Saying, well, they most of the time come in diverging, but sometimes they're parallel, that's not really making sense, and you're kind of semaphoring that you don't know what you're talking about. Now we're going to talk, I'm just covering that really quickly. I didn't let that post because it just contradicted what I said and didn't explain itself. So anyway, I'm going to cover the next person. Now, I'm not doing this in the order they posted it, and I'm not doing this in a way to be mean to the person. But what they said in their comment is important. So I'm going to cover it, edit it, and see how many of you in America have the same opinion I do. I'm a slave to my rent. I pay around $800 a month. It's almost impossible to put some money aside. I want to be self-sufficient, have a small plot of land, grow my own vegetables, food, solar panels, etc. That would be accomplishable. Except land prices are through the roof. You can't have a big house, RV, or mobile home, or shed. Well, you can, but you're not allowed to put an address on it. You need a brick house for that, which starts at a minimum of $150,000. Now, ain't that a bitch? If I was a rich man, I'd help you out. Take care now, Waptek. And then I'm going to include the reveal. You could receive them income supplements and not have a life on the street, but my feeling is that that's the way you want it. That's not the case. Please forgive me for making that guess. And then we get to the reveal. Now, how many of you are sitting there going, okay, I understand this guy, blah, blah, blah. The guy's from Belgium, and he's talking from his reference point in Belgium. Instead of dollars, it's euros for $150,000. And the rest of it's identical. Welcome to the Matrix. Yeah. If you had a plot of land of your own that you could get, which we call the American Dream, by the way, and you could retire on it, and you could grow your own food, you wouldn't go to work because you wouldn't have to. Therefore, you are not allowed to have that. If you find a way to have it, somehow the system will be set up to take it eventually, if you're in the way. What about saving up for it and just having a house? Oh, you can have that too. That's also the American dream, but not growing food. But putting money away aside so that you eventually have so much money built up that you can retire one day and not need anybody to help you and pay for your own medical bills, be self-sufficient. We love that self-sufficient cowboy attitude or self-assuredness thing. This is based on a golden era almost every society has before they come to this point, where we're very close to Blade Runner here. If you could retire after 65 with a life expectancy that now exceeds 100 years of age now, the maximum life expectancy, if you really take care of yourself and get everything medically treated immediately, if the medical system wasn't deliberately broken, you would live long enough that you'd spend 40 years not having to work and also not being a taxation on the society. You would have put your money away in an individual retirement account or Social Security like they're supposed to do in the European Union. You wouldn't be put in a rest home or a home for the aged because you wouldn't need to, and you'd have a house that would be very valuable and pretty looking and enjoyable and desirable, and you're not allowed to have that. When people talk about property values, they don't talk about cost of living, which is identical. The more your property value is, the higher the cost of living. They don't talk about their benefit being someone else's negative. And they don't talk about the fact that our system here, in every country actually, doesn't have to be a take from and give to. There don't have to be haves and have-nots. Because there was one time in history, several times in history actually, where we didn't have that problem. It's not the 1950s idealism either. At one point, almost everybody had to have a garden just to supplement their feeding so that they wouldn't have to take vitamins. We had victory gardens, that sort of thing. Most countries did at one time do this experiment. There was even some social planners, some people call them socialist planners, which is mean actually, that talked about making it to where everybody had an acre of land. An acre is defined as the area that you and a horse can plow in one day so that you can instantly plant a field and be able to eat an acre's worth of food. Find out how many acres are needed if you do that type of farming versus this very intensive farming we use now. We have an infrastructure-based society, sir. You are part of the collective. Resistance is futile. Why? So you won't quit your job. So you won't demand a higher pay. So you won't complain at the standard pay you're being given for being made to work more hours and lie about it. People who have farms that aren't part of some factory farming system are one notch short of slaves because they owe so much money, or they're in a locked-in system with a monopoly to where that they do not have the right to just buy and sell their food or just live off of it and not be involved in the system. Monsanto goes out and tries to enforce patents against you having seeds that can be replanted. They'll actually sue you for it, technically. Yeah, they are actually an evil company, but not for the reasons anybody talks about. That's a really basic thing. I can take a seed from this tree here and grow another tree because that's supposed to be how plants work. But if somebody modifies it by disabling that feature in it, like making seedless melons or melons that don't produce the same melons from the seeds, well, you're breaking some rule. It's like you're stealing. You know, like listening to music and playing it on your guitar is stealing because that's a copyright violation. Cheers. I've tried to get hunks of dirt. The closest I got was somebody was selling a hunk of dirt for $100, not 100,000. Everybody else has said 75,000 or better. I can't afford that, obviously. And the land isn't worth that much. Because in Southern Oregon, you can buy a hunk of dirt that's an acre for $2,000. And then everybody shows up at your doorstep and says, "Hi there, here's $75,000 worth of stuff we want to sell you." And if you say no to it, someone will come along and try to find any excuse, health violation, whatever, to fine you the amount the property's worth and then take it under eminent domain and then sell it to someone else who will implement it because they want you to exploit that land to attract more businesses and more malls. They want you to build a nice downtown area so it can become a slum later when they upgrade. When they cycle the slum versus upscale area around in a circle, literally a clockwise circle in your neighborhoods, where they clockwise it, where they take the place that was blighted, that they blighted, to drop the property values that they're always so proud of, and then they buy it for nothing, and then upgrade it, and then sell it for a premium. Next stage, low-income housing, where you charge the government 4 times what the rent's worth, pocket the difference, and give a person a substandard place to live. Where they will also move in because they want to blight it later so that they can get an excuse to tear it down. Where they will move in everybody who's mentally ill into a neighborhood that obviously doesn't have nothing but mentally ill people. So that the mentally ill people are legally privileged not to be hauled away for assaulting you, breaking your door down, lighting the building on fire, or just plain old shooting you. is what I'm doing by choice. Not really. I'm trying to find anywhere to live. But everyone does the same things. You thought it was just the rich people, the Trumps of this world. No, it ain't. Everyone wants to be Trump. I show up. So what is your religion? That's not relevant. Housing and urban development rules forbid that sort of questioning. Well, this is a Craigslist thing. Get out of here, you heathen. Other places. Are you a vegan, vegetarian? Are you gay? Whatever. I'm not kidding. I've been told not to have a place to live because I'm not gay. Because I made someone uncomfortable by being straight. No, I'm not kidding. That really does happen. It's not some agenda by some, Illuminati. It's literally individuals inflicting themselves on others. Doesn't matter if it's religion, ideology, psychotic liberalism, it doesn't matter. The fix was in a long time ago. Everyone wants to be able to inflict themselves on other people because they feel impinged upon, because the system is designed to drive you forward, not with a carrot on the stick in front of you, but with a red-hot poker up your butt to keep you from stopping. You have a car because you have a job that is nowhere near where you live. I've had workplaces, if a corporation finds out you live less than 10 blocks from where you work, they will try to move you to another location as far away as possible so that you have to have a car. That is not an accident. Oh, well, I'll take the bus. They know the bus will make you late. And they won't let you work off the time. They'll eventually fire you. You have to have a car. You have to have a house. You have to owe money on both, preferably. You have to have a job. Your address has to be established and okayed by everybody else in the area. And then when you finally get a place to live, you're encouraged to join neighborhood associations that pick on everybody over stupid stuff like whether or not the bricks in front of the house are red or gray. Because everybody gets a power trip over other people. They inflict themselves on other people because they don't have power by having money. They don't have power by having self-assuredness or having a stable existence. None of the people I know who have a job really believe they'll be able to keep that job because some damn thing will happen. Now we'll go to the medical system. You can be fired for being sick. This is a right to work state in the state of Oregon. If you join a union, you're seen as a communist for wanting to make sure they can't just fire you because it's the easiest thing to get rid of. The most expensive thing in the world to pay for in a business is labor, so use robots instead. Okay. Well, no, you just pay everybody less and make them work harder and longer hours, and then when, not if they get sick, you make them show up so everybody else gets sick. This madness will continue until everybody, to a person, decides this is unworkable. And this isn't capitalism. This is no different than a communist state shooting you for not being a good enough worker or whatever. There is no actual difference. There's the illusion of their differences. And me being part of a group of people, hackers, geeks, whatever, doing computer work meant that I didn't have to deal with this. I had a really cheap apartment. I hid from everybody. I didn't get involved in anything. I didn't show up on any net. I was the blank. I was invisible. I collected a paycheck, technically, but it was cash. Paid my taxes on time perfectly, so there was never a reason to audit me. I'm the most boring thing on the earth. And at night, I would do whatever I wanted to do. During the day, I was usually working as a janitor. Then I got the job as a computer geek. What happened to me to screw me over? A series of things, but the primary one was police showing up saying that after someone assaulted me, I had to leave the apartment because she lived with me and was married, and by definition, they only have a rule about kicking the guy out. And she used that. It's kind of one of the reasons I have a problem with SJWs. I lived with one for a while. I didn't know it until after I got married. No warning sticker across the forehead. And she was mentally ill. But that's not relevant. The relevant part was she came to the United States complaining about the same thing in Europe. There is no difference. Period. It's the same system. It's just given a different paint job. Maybe a few bells and whistles. They're all C flat. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that.